Hi everybody, Matt Lawton here. This is the Astrological Winds channel. I'm going to take a look at the astrological weather forecast for the week of July 12th through 18th. It's really interesting, over 20 years, close to probably 30 years of looking at astrology and just never, in all the years, you never see the same birth chart, even when people are twins. Their charts are slightly different. And, I watch astrology unfold year after year, and within the years, the months, and within the months, the weeks, and within the weeks, the days, and within the days, the hours. And you never, ever see a pattern repeat completely. You never ever see the same exact energies playing together at the same time. It's just like everybody's birth chart is a unique signature. No one's is the same. And it's the same. And so this week is just one of those weeks where I'm like, I look at the energy going on, and it's just so amazing to me how the different planets and aspects can line up and create unique situations with the normal things that we do every day ourselves and the things going on in society, and then the greater influences above both those things too. And it's always some unique pattern, similar but different, and so this is a week where I look at this week and the way the energy all comes together, and it just is like so fascinating to me how these things can come together in unique new patterns constantly and really, continue to tell the story of our lives, individually, socially, and and beyond that. And so this week has some unique patterns that basically, to me, creates a highly creative situation for people in relationships to have the ability to get their ideals into a changing world, but have to let go of the way they think or we think it's going to go, because there's a degree of fate going on that if we try to struggle against, is just going to be really uncomfortable. Whereas if we allow things to just unfold and go forward, although the ride may be bumpy and awkward and require repairs or things at times, it's going to get us to the destination that we really need to be at, both individually and collectively. And so what it's going to require a week of a lot of adjustment, a lot of stretching our ability to adapt to changing situations, which will require a lot of letting go of things, possibly separating ourselves from things, and just allowing things to change. And so what is all of this? Basically, what we have going on this week is Venus is conjunct Mars in Leo. And then that's very highly creative on an individualistic level. And at the same time, they will both be in a quincunx with Neptune sextile Pluto, which is a long-term transit that's been kind of going in and out of orb, but is getting a relatively tight right now, although it's not going to get exact, it's moved within 2-3 degrees, the two long-term planets together. So basically forming a grand aspect pattern that we call a yod. And a yod is, so the sextile is Neptune and Pluto, and the Venus conjunct Mars is quincunxing both of them. So creating this yod, or what we call a hand of fate or finger of fate, the finger of gods, or spirit. So more fatalistic in its energy than normal aspects, where there's less degree of individual free will choice, being able to influence the situations that, how this ties into us and in our lives individually and perhaps collectively too. So really interesting. And so in effect, the Venus and Mars is on the midpoint, the long midpoint of the Neptune Pluto sextile. So what's that all mean? Basically, a little background first on Neptune sextile Pluto. This is a really long-term transit. It's like something that they're the two slowest moving planets, and they both move at around the same slow speed. So they stay within orb of one another when they get into an aspect for a long time. Now with a sextile, it's hard to say that the effect is very strong once it gets beyond 3 degrees. But since these two are kind of like doing a dance, and the outer planets do that many times, like mundane astrology, you can look at a very long period of time, and I mean years, that kind of fall under the influence of what that energy can be. And with Neptune sextile Pluto, it's like an opportunity that can come to change your life into a new life. And it's usually because of social situations that are occurring within society. Neptune and Pluto, long-term planets, don't really have so much to do with what we're doing personally at all. But because of what's going on in society, there's opportunities to actually change your life. And so there's chances to make these changes easier and inject a lot of the ideals that you believe in into your life and transform, hopefully, not only your life, but like a greater collective movement too. So that's really like the energy that the Venus-Mars conjunction is triggering. And the Venus-Mars conjunction in Leo is highly individualized. First of all, you have the two planets that are inner planets, so right away that's like, they're having a lot more to do with the individual themselves. And then in Leo, it's a highly individualized sign that wants to express its uniqueness, wants to be recognized for the creativity and unique talents that you have. And when Venus and Mars come together, they're like, in a certain way, two kind of opposites. The yin and yang energy comes together. So on a personal level, it can be very stimulating on a relationship level. And for many people, that can be very like romantically involved with others, and that's where, that kind of energy can easily go. So that, so a lot of this on personal levels for many people will have to do with like romantic relationships. But when you look at the greater picture of this too, it seems to be indicating too, when you bring in the Neptune-Pluto sextile and the highly creative energy that comes together when Venus and Mars are together, doesn't necessarily have to be sexual all the time. It also can be highly artistic in the sense of getting together and doing artistic kind of projects or creative type projects together. And so when you add in the people wanting to be recognized for their talents, there's something about like here, like this change that's possible right now, and people trying, maybe being able to get some kind of self-fulfillment of the recognition of their talents within that framework. So it's kind of interesting on that level, but but the Yod, really makes it one of these things of like, okay, there's a lot of fate going on here. And then like Venus and Mars are both sitting on the midpoint of this Neptune-Pluto sextile. So it starts to bring in some stuff that like is like really starts to like go beyond the physical world and just like physical type relationship, where the connections that you're starting to make with people starting to feel maybe like they're like almost like this mystical kind of thing, where it may feel odd, like like eccentric, maybe different people that you normally wouldn't be relating to that are coming in, and kind of almost like because of the ideals that you're sharing is kind of bringing in this energy almost magnetically, and almost like having what you would call almost like type supernatural type of experiences with those people. So it's very, it can be very mystical. And then when you add in the creative part, it can get like highly, like almost like cutting edge, different kind of stuff, because of the way different people from different backgrounds almost are being like magnetized together by the Yod. But it's interesting too, at the same time, that all that is coming in, the Mars acting with the Neptune can actually be a diffuser of energy too. It's almost like like if the energy is not being properly allocated, that it can actually be very taxing to our systems and lower our physical stamina and stuff. And the thing is too, and when you get like that, you can be more apt to like let go of your drive and surrender to others. So like it might be one of these situations where you're like having to really determine why certain people have come into your life, and whether the things they're bringing in, because it is kind of this magical, mystical thing that's very enticing on many levels, but also can be like triggering and disturbing on many levels too. So it's almost like we're having to sit there and look at the situation and decide within our own selves if the triggers that are being brought up are the ones that we really need to have happen to us personally in order for us to go down this road with this Yod to where it's taking us, or are we actually being misled? Because even when Venus and Neptune gets together, we can get really overly idealistic. We can like kind of look at relationships through rose-colored glasses, not be realistic about things, and kind of like the Mars Neptune starts to let us give in type energy. So there's a lot of like interesting energy mixed up there. But then when you bring in Pluto into the situation, where Venus is quincunxing Pluto, that's where we really have to do that cutting edge and separate, like, what is, which ones are good for us, even if they're really challenging, and making us look at parts of ourselves that, we need to come to terms with to move forward. Or is it a situation where people are kind of misleading us and we're kind of like dissolving into like maybe even power struggles, which is where Mars Pluto quincunxes start to come in and get into like these power struggles that are, constantly making us adjust and all that. So it's a very like complex ball of energy, and it's very fatalistic too. And it really is giving us all this opportunity to put our individual gift into an opportunity to change because of what's going on in culture and society around us. But, there's a certain point where we're going to have to let go of a lot of the old things that, we were like, attached to doing, the way we relate to, and have to really just allow that curiosity and desire for change to take us to where this road, which has more fate involved, wants to lead us. So very interesting. And then to top that off, the sun then trines Neptune and goes opposite to Pluto this week too. So it's also activating the Neptune sextile Pluto, also the sun. So what does that mean? It means that once we have these and Venus is conjunct Mars on Tuesday, and all these, the yod is going to be in effect most of the week. So what's going to be happening in relationships and, and then the dynamic of that creativity going on there, and what we're learning when the sun is trining Neptune and opposite Pluto, it's telling us how the individual, how we are going to take that back in. So interestingly enough, the sun trine Neptune is confirming that right now we have an opportunity to get our ideals into action, into our lives much more easier than other times, and that we may have like mystical or spiritual or psychic type experiences with people that that are showing us the way that we can do that together and move forward. And so it's really a good time to like contemplate that stuff when you're alone with the sun trine Neptune. It's like a very contemplative mind about looking at those things, and then just like from there, the sun opposite Pluto is going to be like, okay, what are these relationships in this yod showing me? They're showing me aspects of myself that were hidden prior to that. Some of these things can be very difficult to look at. Some of them are like very powerful to look at. And so like, the powerful ones can be a very positive change. We can learn so much about ourselves through our relationships with others, see new aspects of ourselves, new aspects of our personality. And so that can be really good, but like, it can also be very triggering in the sense of people not being used to you stepping into that power, seeing these aspects, and then like wanting to like pull you back down into where they want you to be, and like therefore becoming almost like a struggle. So anyone who has any kind of authority in your life, maybe someone who you end up having to make some serious decisions about and have some struggles with. But like, it's important once again with that Pluto and Neptune there, that like, what we're doing is very appealing to the groups and what's going on. And then that leading to the third thing of the week. This is the week where I mentioned in the monthly where Chiron goes retrograde. And Chiron in Aries, what I've been saying now for a couple of years, being self-responsible about our own healing journey. Well, now all of a sudden, we're going to get some download this week, seeing ourselves through others. And I think Chiron going retrograde for the next 4.5 months, and also this week, Pallas Athene goes retrograde also, the asteroid that has to do with our values and what we share with values and ideals with others. So I think we're going to need to spend the next few months really reflecting on what we experience through others, and just like what that actually means to us, so that we can get an idea of how to approach our own healing journey within the context of all this. And there is some, support here too. Pluto trine series this week, which I also mentioned in the monthly. It's just a time of where this blends in really well, actually, with the yacht, of getting some real serious creative output done with other people. A highly productive, fruitful type of transit that, when used properly, can bring great leaps of transformation. And with Ceres there, getting some security personally out of that, and being able to spread that out socially too. So that's interesting. And then even at the beginning of this week, right now, Monday, Mercury trining Jupiter gives us a broad mind and vision, so that we can, really organize and bring in the things we want to start to get together in order to, move forward. And then the last thing I wanted to mention this week too is even this fits in with this collaborative type of creative energy that's being offered to us as an opportunity right now for changing because of what is going on in the world socially. And that is the asteroid Vesta going into Libra. And that is like, Vesta is all about groups that, who share the ideals and behaviors that we do. So when going into Libra, it's like an opportunity to form more partnerships with people like that, with groups like that. Now, it can get competitive for sure too on that level, and in what people are pushing for their ideals, but it really shows that equality and what people are perceiving as equality is a very important component of all that, and that includes the equality of the individual to the group, which goes all the way back again to the Venus conjunct Mars in Leo, where the individual is also wanting some recognition within the framework of all this stuff changing. So I really see this as a very, like, in a certain way, a more fatalistic week than normal for the energy, because the yacht is just something that is almost like being put on a road, and if you're trying to find a way off that road, it because the road is something that you're not used to or whatever, you're going to actually end up probably getting stuck in a ditch or something, is a good way to say it. So it's really good to just kind of let this kind of play out. And there'll be a lot of times where you'll probably kind of want to try to jump in and take control of the situation in the ways that you would normally do that. Whereas and you may find out immediately that there's a negative feedback loop that occurs when you do that. But if you kind of let things go, although it you may hit some potholes and stuff, you might you won't go into the ditch, so to speak. So so it could be a little bit of a bumpy ride, and that hopefully the shock absorbers are working well, but really it's taking us to where we need to go, and it's asking us to like bring out that uniqueness in a situation where the world is changing and going through a lot of changes on all kinds of levels. So it's bringing up that opportunity, but we have to be really discerning once again of like, first of all, not fooling ourselves about the way we're looking at relationships, and second of all, not allowing others to dictate our actions and lead us astray based on where they're wanting to go instead of just allowing the thing to flow. So really interesting, and just will really give us all a lot of self-reflection, a lot of self-learning, and I think a lot to think about over the next few months again on where we want to take all of this. All right, this is Matt Lawton. This is the Astrological Winds channel. My email is matthue823@gmail.com. And if you'd like some kind of reading, or if you'd like to give a donation for this service, that is my account number, also on Zelle and Venmo. And really the best way that you can repay me for this service, though, is to continue to spread it to anyone that you know that might be interested in it. Social media is a powerful weapon for all of us, so to speak, in getting our messages out to people who we feel are similar. So like really just spread, if you know one person that you can just, give them the link, that would be really helpful for me. And if you are interested in the reading, once again, matthue823@gmail.com. Give me an email and we'll talk about prices. Natal readings, knowing your own birth chart, definitely very important. And then, predictive readings, which is really similar to what I'm doing every week here. When you get a predictive reading, I give you basically a weather report for your next year and the energy that's playing into your chart in your next year. And then I'm also available for relationship readings, elections for when you need the best timing of events. If you have a question or a question that you're really trying to get an answer to, that you have a lot of emotional confusion about, available for that. Astrolocality, if you're looking for new places to move and want to know how that works in your chart, that kind of thing. Also events, lectures, other types of events, if you need mini readings, that kind of thing. And I also have classes available, 5 beginning classes available right now, including the whole Zodiac. $25 for each class. Unless you're a student with an ID, then they're $20. You can take them as one-offs or sequentially if you really want to start to learn astrology on a deeper level. And they're available. I do them through Dropbox. So once again, you have to get in touch with me on them. All right. This is the Astrological Winds channel. Become a follower on YouTube. Turn on your notifications and you'll never miss it. I do try to social media people. I don't get everybody, and the list keeps growing all the time. So it's really I can't get to everyone. It's also available on all kinds of podcasts. There's really no reason to actually watch the video very much. If you don't want to, it's really listening to it that's important. So Apple iPodcasts, all kinds of different podcasts, I think about 15 of them at least, people from all over the world listening to them there. Thank you very much. Continue to spread the channel for me as payback for the service, and I'd appreciate that. All right, until next week, this is Matt Lawton. This is the Astrological Winds channel, and let's just kind of stay on that road together and see where this yard's gonna take us this week.